there's $1 million sitting in there. What starts to happen physically, energetically within your body, and mentally what starts to happen? So in this exercise, I get kind of the same, different, things, but it always comes down to like similar patterns, right?
Right.
This is the Leo Climaco Podcast.
Welcome to another episode of the Leo Climaco Podcast. My guest today is a money coach and a chakra guru. I'm dying to know how that goes together. Sandy Fernandez, how are you?
Hi, Leo. Good.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Very happy
so
to have you
great to be
here.
Me too. I'm super excited to be here as well. I was really excited when I got the invitation.
Yes. I've actually interviewed a couple of your friends.
I know.
I
We were just talking
interviewed
about that.
Lianis.
Yes.
I've
she's
interviewed
amazing.
two amazing people, Lianis
Yes.
and Gigi.
Yes.
So I'm happy to complete the triangle.
Yes.
Trifecta.
Yes, exactly. Now the pyramid is complete.
Exactly. So tell me, how did you become a money coach?
So I started in banking when I was 19. Never in a million years would I have ever thought that banking was going to be my thing. When I was a little girl, I wanted to study oceanography and I wanted to be a marine biologist and swim with dolphins. And I wanted to basically be Jacques Cousteau, for those of you who even remember who that is. He used to search for underwater treasures. And that's
Yes.
really what I thought I was going to do.
That's awesome.
But somehow I, got an interview at the bank and I got hired, and suddenly I was like, man, I was just kidding. I didn't really mean to get that job, but I did. And as soon as I got hired, I really fell in love with banking. I found it to be not as mathy as I had anticipated it to be. It was
Right.
more money. And I always joke and people say, oh, you must be good with math. And I'm like, no, I'm just really good with money. But I did find that there was some creative outlets in banking, being able to do some creative financing and being able to provide solutions for people's problems
Right.
and really helping people. So that's really how it started. And then, I excelled in my career very, very quickly. And then about 8 years ago, actually longer than that, about 12 years ago, I got divorced. And, I came from a really broken place. I was divorced. I was a single mom. I was reinventing myself. I had also gotten married when I was 19. So there was a lot of soul searching for me that needed to happen.
Got it.
Who am I? What do I really like?
Right.
Being married so young, you tend to forego a lot of personal
Right.
things because you're always compromising. And I remember one of the first nights that my son's father moved out, I was like watching Man vs. Wild, like Bear Grylls. And I'm like, why the F am I watching this? I don't even like this trash. So it was a whole rediscovery of myself. And through that, I really started reconnecting to my spiritual practices, reconnecting with my faith, and started exploring a lot of different things in order to really heal my heart and
Right.
become a better person, because I wasn't in a good place. And that's really how this soulful journey started evolving. And throughout that, I started practicing yoga, became a certified yoga teacher. And I started to see this connection of energy with my clients at the bank. And I would start asking them, these little questions. I started kind of running my own little hypothesis, and just kind of taking notes and saying, why does this person have money? And why does this person not have money? And, things like that. And I started seeing this connection with the chakra energy. And when I would go back to the yoga studio and say, what do you guys think about this? And they're like, no, it's only the root chakra. And we can kind of dive into that. But for those of you who are familiar with the chakra system, then you know that this is the typical response. It's only the first chakra, the red one,
Right.
Which has to do with safety, security, stability, fear. And money is very heavy energetically, right? I mean,
Right.
if people commit crimes, it's typically for two reasons: love or money.
Right.
Right. So
Wars too.
Yeah. Agreed. And religion, but
Yes.
but so very interesting. I started saying, no, guys, there's something else here. And being the person that I am, very rebellious by nature, I was like, no, I'm going to prove everybody wrong. And that's really how
love
I
that.
started journaling and starting writing the premise of my book and building my courses. And, now we're here. Now, the book went to #1 on Amazon, #7 in Spanish.
Congratulations.
There was definitely
That's
an audience.
incredible.
Thank you. Yeah, it was really exciting accomplishment. I'm working on my second book too, so very excited about
Yes.
that. And it's still the topic of money and energy, but more from a female perspective.
What's the first book called?
Karmic Currency, Chakras and Money.
I love that.
Yeah, which is the name of my business, Karmic Currency. And obviously the chakras and money is such an
Right.
oxymoron. There are two things that kind of don't go together, like ranch and ice cream. Other than that, ranch is great on everything. So it's one of those things. And that's really how, this whole concept started. And it really just took off. And people were really curious. It was very well received. I think now, 8 years fast forward from that starting point of launching Karmic Currency, I believe that the world and humanity is now more ready and more open to start seeing money from a more energetic perspective. I think people are really starting to understand what our relationships are or is with money, how it started, how our childhood shapes our beliefs around it, the differences between prosperity and, feelings of lack. And it's just everyone is impacted from it, even from the most wealthiest to the most poor.
Right,
We're
for
all
sure.
impacted. So that's kind of the long story of it.
If you don't mind me asking.
No, I'm here for the questions.
Good.
Ask.
Good. What about getting divorced that you think unlocked you?
Ooh, that's a loaded question. I was really broken. I made some really bad decisions. And I hurt my family. I hurt myself. I compromised a lot of my own personal values. Went against a lot of my moral compass. And I really needed to fix that. I really needed to sit down with myself and have that hard conversation, like, what the F are you doing? Why did you do this? And also realize that I had been unhappy for a long time and that I had compromised already for a long time.
Right.
And that a lot of what I did, like I said, was that act of rebellion of I need to get out of this. I need to move my life forward. And that's gonna kind of go into my second book, which I really didn't get into in the first. But I don't believe in regret. And oftentimes, when I share more intimate details of that situation, I tell people, I'm like, look, was it my finest hour? No. But it made me the person that I am today.
Right.
And the person who's standing here today is a person that I'm really fucking proud of. And is a person that I really, really can stay true to who I am and say, listen, I learned from all of these things. I grew from all of these things. I'm a better person because of them.
Right. And
I can encourage people and women and men to say, listen, if I was able to get through all of this, you can too, So that's really what kind of broke me open.
I love that. I love that you chose to take a stance and better yourself and move on and grow and evolve, right? Because most people get stuck.
Yeah. You get stuck in that cycle. You get stuck in thinking, this is who I am. This is the moment that defines me. I'm never going to move past this. You know, what are people are always going to, people have short-term memory. Everybody forgets.
Right.
Eventually
And
it'll be
to be honest,
tomorrow.
fuck people.
Well, agreed.
You know what I mean? Like, let them
Agreed.
think whatever they want.
Agreed. But a lot of, unfortunately, some people do adopt the mentality that other people's opinions of themselves are what matter.
Yeah.
And truly what matters is your opinion of you.
Correct.
I'm not saying that we shouldn't care because we do want to make a good impression.
Right,
I mean, we do
right.
want to be, everybody wants to be liked.
Correct. And some
but to
opinions
your
are
core.
valid that could make you better.
Correct.
You know?
But when you know who you are to your core, that you know that those moments don't define you, and if someone wants to judge you based on your one-time mistake, then
That's their
that person
problem.
doesn't deserve a seat at
Correct.
your table.
100%.
Or even in the same 5-mile radius, of your life and what you do now. So,
What do you think makes you good with money?
ooh, what makes me good with money? Well, first of all, I have a lot of experience in the banking and financial industry, which really sets me apart from a lot of the other financial coaches out there. A lot of them don't have the financial background the way that I do. So that's the first thing. And then the second thing, I am able to read people's energies, and I'm able to very, very quickly pick up and understand what exactly is that's happening and what is the not spoken. Because I'll sit with clients and they'll tell me one thing, but right away my internal compass, my intuition starts going, no, this is not right. There's
So let's
something
do this
else
right
here.
now. What's
Okay,
my
yeah.
energy telling you?
Well, answer the question. Money is what?
Energy.
Money is energy. So for someone like yourself who believes that money is energy, this means that you are not attached to any specific outcome as far as finances. You know that money is going to come. You don't necessarily struggle for it. You don't have to work hard for money. You know that it's just going to always be there.
It's flowing.
Yeah. And it's very likely that you've had a good relationship with money from the start. Money's always been there to support you.
I would say my adult years, yes.
Okay. So you probably healed some of that.
Yeah.
Probably healed some of that. So typically that's like the first question that I ask my clients, and that'll tell me right away the chakra that's blocked or that's open.
Right.
Which when we say that it's blocked or open, it's interchangeable.
Right.
You know, because blocked doesn't necessarily mean that it's always closed. It just means it could be flailing open. It's just a disbalance in that energy. But that's definitely third eye and crown chakra, which also you trust your intuition to guide you. So you
Yeah.
know that the decisions that you're making are coming from an intuitively guided place. So you listen, you take the facts into consideration, but ultimately the determining factor is going to be your intuition and what feels right.
Correct. Agree with you 100%. I do feel, though, that I've reached a barrier that I'm not able to...
An income plateau.
Yeah. So
So that could be a limiting belief somewhere hidden within you, that there's a block that says that you can't do anymore. And I'll give you a really great example. One of the exercises that I do with my clients is that I tell them, okay, I want you to sit and think, because everybody says, oh, I want $1 million, right? I want to be rich and I want $1 million bucks. And I'm like, all right, so let's do this exercise. Close your eyes. We don't have to do it now, but close your eyes, think about it, sit with what it would actually feel like to have $1 million. And I'm talking about really think about it. Like visualize yourself going on your phone, opening your mobile banking app. You can see your checking account. There's $1 million sitting in there. What starts to happen physically, energetically within your body, and mentally what starts to happen? So in this exercise, I get kind of the same, different, things, but it always comes down to like similar patterns, right?
Right.
So one person would always immediately say, oh my God, I'm going straight to buy this. I'm going straight to buy that. I want to get this new shoes. I want to buy the new Louis Vuitton bag. I'm going to go buy an apartment. I'm going to go buy this. I'm going to go buy that. And I'm like, and this is exactly why you don't have $1 million.
Correct.
Because you don't feel safe in holding and having this money. Something inside of you says, I need to spend it and I need to let it go. And then that spending is also leading to a different energetic pocket, which then we're going into, well, this is pleasure. Or is this scarcity? Is this triggering feelings of within you of when you were a kid that maybe you were deprived of having things that you wanted? Like you couldn't have it.
Right.
So you just went and now you have money and I'm a grown up and you can't tell me what to do and I'm going to buy all the stuff I want.
Right.
I'll have people say, oh my God, I got so stressed out because immediately I started thinking about my cousins and they're all going to want me to give them money. And I'm going to have to, like, all these people are going to start asking me for money, and I'm going to start having to help people. And immediately, now this is an energy of rejection. Now I'm pushing away money. I'm telling money, as much as I want you, it's not safe to have you because someone's going to take it from me, or I'm going to have to give it to someone else, and you don't get to enjoy that.
Right.
So then it triggers a different energetic, space within your body of, again, not feeling safe having money. So for you, it could be that where you're at already, you've hit that, you're like super comfortable. So now you're gonna have to start getting comfortable with that next level income, which is gonna require that same level of meditation, envisioning that amount of money. And I tell people all the time, like, however much money you wanna make, maybe it's $100,000 a year, and that, for you, that might not be nothing.
Right.
For someone else, they may have never made that.
Right.
So it's really up to you and what that comfort level is. So really sit there and start, and this kind of moves into manifesting, but sit with that amount and then keep raising the bar and the amount mentally.
Okay.
Right? Start Start with 10 grand, and say, okay, listen.
Let me tell you what came to me as you were talking. I'll tell you.
Yeah.
I don't mind sharing. I've been stuck between 1.6 and 2 million for the past 2-3 years.
Okay.
Okay. The number I thought of was 10 million.
That's a big number.
Yeah. And the first thing that came to my mind was security and investment.
At the 10 million mark.
At the 10 million. As you were saying, opening up your phone, seeing the number there, what came to me was, okay, I am now financially secure and I have money to invest.
Okay. So you don't feel that you have money to invest now?
I do, but I run into trouble because I overinvest.
So you could be working with an energy of wanting yourself to get to that income level by your own means versus by trusting more that universe to start to open up the flow of energy.
That's probably true.
Because what happens is, and this is, it's interesting because my son and I were having this spiritual conversation in the car. And when you start to really tap into energy and to trust and to faith, whatever it is that you want to call it and however you define it, but there's got to come to that point where you surrender and realize that a lot of this is out of our control. Mm-hmm. And all you have to do is open the door to allow that income to come in and not always by your control. So I'm not saying that you shouldn't make investments, but I'm saying that you're going to need to find that balance of like controlling from a human perspective and then moving into that third eye and that crown chakra where it says that you believe that the infinite abundance of the universe is there for you and allow it to show up for you instead of you trying to control it. A real world example.
That's a great advice, by the way. Thank you.
Thank you. A real world example for that is sometimes I work with small business owners and they're like, man, I've done everything that I can and just the clients aren't coming. And that's when I tell them that's the moment where you have to surrender. That's the moment where you really have to step into that faith and step into that energetic space where you are trusting the universe, you're trusting God, your guardian angels, your ancestors, whatever you want to believe.
It's about knowing it already occurred, right?
But it's about knowing that it's coming and knowing that it's there. The budgets and the limitations we place. The universe is not on a budget. It's abundant. There's more than enough. There's enough for all of us to go around.
I agree.
So it's about expanding that belief of knowing that there's more than enough and not seeing things as limited. So when you start limiting yourself as, well, the investment is limited or, the income is limited, you start putting a cap. Well, don't cap it. If the goal is 10 mil, then the goal is 10 mil. It's not up to you how the 10 mil shows up.
Right.
Your job is to continue to put yourself in the situation to allow the 10 mil to show up. If you're at home on Netflix, eating and Uber eating, 10 mil is not going to show up.
No.
It might if you get up and play the lotto. But I always joke, I'm like, man, I wish I won the lotto. But the reality is that I don't play.
Right.
So the universe might be sitting there going, this girl doesn't know that if she just got up and bought a lotto ticket, the money would be there.
Right.
So you have to continue to put yourself in those situations to allow those opportunities to show up. And
hey, I'm talking to the money coach.
Close the doors. Mm-hmm.
I love it.
Yeah. But I love that goal for you.
Thank you.
And I think it's absolutely obtainable. I agree. But be mindful of the audience because other people's limiting beliefs will brush up on you. Because someone else's limiting belief and someone else's income limitation could affect you because now they start putting doubts. And now they start telling you, that's insane. Like, how would you even do that? The type of work that would require, or, the type of investment that you would need. Or
Right.
So that's the other thing is too.
They don't get it.
No. Just keep it and visualize it. Write it on your bathroom mirror so that you start seeing the number and that number becomes real every single day. Every single day you're looking at it and you're comfortable with it and it starts showing up everywhere you go. And you'll start, maybe it won't be 10 million in an actual dollar figure, but maybe it'll be a number sequence. Maybe it'll start showing up. You'll look at the phone and that number will be there. And that's the universe telling you, keep going. And now you've got it.
As a podcaster, I needed a place to share my voice and hear other stories. That's how Forge Studios was born. A place created not just for me, but for everyone searching for something more. An environment where as soon as you walk in, you feel the energy and you feel welcomed. Where being seen and heard is part of the experience. A place for entrepreneurs to share their journey, for creators to bring ideas to life, for businesses to grow authentically. A space that values mental health, encourages real conversations, and supports those who turns ideas into impact. Here at the Forge Studios, creativity, culture, and purpose aligns and comes together to help you create something greater. A place where we leave the filters behind and we start expressing ourselves for real. The Forge Studio. Your journey starts here. Your impact starts now.
In your sights. Now you're attracting it. Now you're saying, all right, this is coming. So that's really exciting.
I love that.
I hope I'm here for that.
You're really good.
Thank you.
I think it's really cool how you combine like the physical and the metaphysical, you know? And you wouldn't think that it would mesh, but it meshes so well.
Most people don't. When I left banking to pursue my business and to pursue, the things that I want, I heard that one of the other managers said, "Oh, I heard Sandy left banking to go be a psychic." And I got a really good laugh about that. And I was like,
Okay.
negative attention is better than no attention. Let me start talking about me.
100%.
I don't know whatever happened to that guy, but yeah, so it's one of those things. Like I said, it was really powerful when I would see it, and I talked about it too in my book, and I witnessed it too with my own family, my own money story, and understanding what that looked like. My family was very affluent, and my mom was very spoiled, and my grandfather took care of everything, and she was doted on along with the rest of his children. And when he passed away, my mom didn't know how to make money. She had no idea. So she struggled. And then I learned
The struggle.
those bad habits from her and those struggles. And then I made every freaking financial mistake that you could possibly make. And now I've healed, and now I've learned from it. And, and I
Do you mind sharing one?
Well, I mean, there's so many. But let's see, I had my car repoed like 3 times. I had to file for bankruptcy. After my divorce, my house went into foreclosure. I had my account garnished one time.
Wow.
My credit was trash. I got sued by Capital One and Barclays. So yeah, like you name it, I went through it, and I learned all of those lessons the hard way.
Thank you for sharing that. That was
Yeah.
really eye-opening.
Yeah.
Because it shows that you can go to the pit and come back out.
100%.
Yeah.
There's always a way out. And that's really what I love to share with my audience. And like I said, I use myself as a story because I did it. So I know you can. And not only can you, but I can teach you how, because I did it. And I did it myself. And the irony, right, is that I was running a financial institution, running a $90 million portfolio, and I'm overdrawing my checking account every 2 weeks. Like I was probably paying my teller's salary just in overdraft fees.
Wow.
It was so bad. But again, I was relearning, reparenting myself, teaching myself how to grow up, teaching myself how to be adult. And I'm so grateful for my career in banking, where I was able to learn from the top executives, the top trainers, really learn and understand what money is. And I didn't learn it from, my mom, may she rest in peace. I learned it fixing it, and that's why I tell my clients, I'm like, I'll show you. Not only will I show you, but I'll show you all the shortcuts, all the hacks.
Yeah.
I love a good money hack. My favorite.
Like what? What's a good one?
Let me see. What would be a good money hack? don't know. Nothing really comes to mind at this exact moment. But I think credit bureaus and like credit, is a good money hack. People think that they can pay collections, and most times I tell people you don't need to pay collections. That we can dispute that and we'll fight it. But it's a kind of a good money hack. This is a good money hack. If you're a salaried employee, W-2 employee, I enjoy removing all of my withholdings from my paycheck so that I get more money in my paycheck, and then setting it back up towards like the end of the year. I'm very strategic as to when I do it or when I advise my clients to do it. So please do not take this advice without talking to me. Okay, this is my legal disclosure, all right? This is for entertainment purposes only. No, because sometimes people do it and 100%. Then they wind up, screwing themselves, and that's not the advice that I want to give. This is a little bit of a hack. So depending on their situation, where they are, like if we're trying to do like a debt snowball or accelerate a payoff, then I'll say, okay, let's remove your tax withholding if you're getting a big bonus, they tax you 40% on that.
Yeah.
We remove that so you get more in your pocket, and then we use that extra money to accelerate debt payoff.
Got it.
Then we go into like more sophisticated things like setting up an LLC or setting up a Schedule C where you can write off some of your taxes, some of your losses, things like that. They're kind of like those little hacks that everybody thinks that they know how to do it. But the reality is that your personal financial situation is like a thumbprint. And no one has the same.
Right.
So a lot of these, Instagrammers, they post stuff and people forward me stuff all the time. They're like, did you see this? And I'm like, oh my God, buffon. Like, you cannot do that. Or they'll send it to me and they're like, can I do this? And I'm like, this does not apply to you. Don't get crazy. And some clients, the clients that I work with that listen to me are successful. The clients that don't listen to me,
you should take those posts and do a reaction video.
I have done a few. The problem is when I go on Instagram, I like to cuss a lot. I'm actually really good behavior today.
You can curse all you want.
Well, thanks. Now you may have created a monster.
Feel free.
But,
I love cursing.
But so I cuss a lot. I cuss a lot on my videos, and sometimes I just really can't control it. And I'm like,
why is that a problem?
No,
it's not a problem at all.
It's not. I have an old client of mine that follows my social media from the bank, and he always texts me and kind of bringing our conversation back. So, like, we don't care what anybody thinks or, like, what people's opinions are, but we want to be liked. And this guy makes it his point every single time. He's like, hey, Sandy, good to see all your emails and all your content, man, but, you got to really stop using the F word. And I'm always like... Thank you for your email.
Here's the finger.
Right. Middle finger emoji. It's my favorite. But yeah, so I've done a few of the reaction videos. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
I think those are really helpful because it can show your skills.
Yeah. No, agreed.
Set you apart.
Agreed. There was talking about the money hacks, there was this money hack, which was not a money hack, that was going around on Instagram for Chase Bank. People were like depositing these bogus checks and bogus money, and then they were taking a withdrawal at the same time. And people this went viral, and people were on the internet and they're like, oh, did you see this Chase money hack? And there's a glitch in the matrix, and you can just deposit this and take out money and blah, blah, blah. And I did a whole post about it, and I'm like, hi, this is not a hack. What you have done is, number one, you've committed fraud.
Correct.
Okay.
Highly
and
illegal.
And number two, what you've done is tap into something called Regulation CC, which is your Funds Availability Act, which is what tells the banks that by law they are supposed to allow you to draw on your funds a certain amount immediately when you make a deposit. So that amount, depending on how the bank sets it up, is anywhere between $200 to $275.
Got it.
So if I deposit a check for $1,000, by law, the bank has to immediately give me available $250. Now, June 1st, that regulation changes, so it's going up to $275.
Got it.
So they have to give you that. And in some cases more, but I won't bore you with all the
Right.
regulations. So I was like, so that's essentially what you guys are doing. I'm sorry. to burst, you know.
It's not free money.
Right. They're not millennials. What are the younger ones?
Gen Z.
The younger than millennials is Gen Z?
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah, well,
Gen Z.
whatever. These kids. I'm like, sorry to bust your TikTok bubble. Thought you were onto something, but yeah, no, you probably got your account closed now from Chase. You've committed fraud. You're probably now going to get reported to, you know, check systems and the credit bureaus because now you owe the banks money and they're probably going to flag you. And now you're blacklisted from opening an account. So congrats. I hope you enjoyed your $270.
Here's my number. Call me when you need me.
No, I don't want those. I don't want those types of clients. I don't want those types of clients. You cannot afford me, number one. And number two, no, I don't want any fraudsters. Let me tell you, when the PPP was going on, woo, that was a field day. I had so many people approach me.
Really?
Yeah, and obviously wanting to do fraud. They were like, can I do this? And I'm like, no, you cannot. And they're like, well, but so-and-so is doing it. And I'm like, then go to so-and-so. Because number one, they don't serve wine in prison. And, you know, number two, I'm not down with that. You know, my reputation and my integrity and the, you know, what I have built for myself is very, very important. I'm not going to be compromising that for anybody. And they're like, well, but I'll pay you. And I'm like, I don't care. I don't need your money. Like, I'm good.
Right.
You know, again, freedom is kind of a big deal for me. But yeah, that was really interesting to see people's energy during that time. And honestly, I don't know how my business didn't explode and how I didn't go viral at that time, because I go back to the timestamps on my Instagram and I'm like, everything that I said to do is exactly what people needed to be done. And I was like the first person to tell everybody to do it.
Wow.
Like every single step of the way. Put your bills on extension, apply for unemployment, go to FEMA. I mean, it's timestamped. It's there. But anyways, so it was really interesting to see people's, you know, energies, because, you know, when people are desperate, and really it was a very scary time, and people were coming from a place of desperation. It's very sad. I think 70% of the country live paycheck to paycheck. Most consumers.
That many?
Yeah.
Wow.
Most consumers don't have $1,000 to fund an emergency. You know, God forbid something happened. I don't know, you chipped a tooth, you needed to go to the dentist, or you blew out, in Miami's everything's under construction, you blew out all 4 tires. Anything can happen, and most people don't have the resources to access that type of money. And when the entire country shuts down, and all of a sudden you realize, oh my God, wait, I'm not gonna get paid?
Yeah.
You know, how am I gonna pay my bills? It really threw everyone into that root chakra, really into that scarcity, into that survival, into that fear place of, you know, how am I going to provide for my family? How am I really going to take care of the people? Everybody counts on me. Everybody depends on me. So a lot of people did a lot of things out of desperation, and it was just interesting to watch some of the people that were caught, you know, and the people that were caught, the reasons why, and I still strongly believe that we haven't seen at all. We haven't even scratched the surface on.
You think so?
Oh, 100%.
Wow.
100%. We have not scratched the surface on the amount of fraud that happened with the PPP and the EIDL loans. 100%.
Wow.
Because just from what I see, and I'm one person,
Right.
and then multiply that times a national level, it's mind-blowing to me. Mind-blowing to me. And when clients would come, those who were viable candidates that I did help, because I did help, around 250 people I helped.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was nice. And they were viable, and everybody was vetted, and I felt good about what I was doing. But for those people, I was very, very clear, and I said, listen, because the other thing is that a lot of people got a lot of money.
Yeah.
So I was seeing people get over $100,000. This is a person who's never seen $100,000. We just talked about that analogy.
Yeah.
Visualize it in your bank account. All of a sudden, you get this text back that says, hey, your EIDL was approved and we're giving you $125,000. What? Mm-hmm. And immediately, the first question out of everybody's mouth was, can I buy a house with this? And I'm like, no. No, you cannot. No, you cannot buy a house with this. This is not the purpose of
Right.
these funds. So to my point is, I would tell people, I'm like, listen, you can get this money, and if you want to use it to buy a house, let me know, and I will tell you how to set up your business and how to structure everything so that it makes sense as to why this would be a business need.
Right.
I said, second thing, do not default on this loan. Whatever you do, okay, do not default. And the reason for that is this is a federal loan.
Talking about the EIDL. Yeah.
Yeah, the PPP was,
Yeah,
forgiven.
forgiven, yeah.
For most people. Some people
Yeah.
did have not, some people did not have it forgiven, but that's another conversation. But the EIDL is federal. And I said, short list of people you don't want to fuck with, the government, IRS,
Yeah.
and I said, this is federal funds. If you do not pay this, they will take everything you own. You are literally signing away everything. They will garnish your wages. They will garnish your accounts. This clause specifically says that you cannot bankruptcy this away. So, I hope everybody took my advice. But that's why I'm saying I don't think that we've fully seen the brunt of it. And I also believe that that's why consumers are more cash poor now. Because during 2020, I think the markets predicted that we were supposed to tank, but in fact, we did the opposite.
Yeah.
We completely shot
Well,
up.
they injected money everywhere.
It was raining money.
Wow.
I've been in banking, like I said, since I was 19. I started this in 1996. I've been through a few financial cycles. This was by far the unicorn of money. And I have said it, and I will continue to say it here as I sit here with you, Leo. What we saw happen during 2020 as far as money and financial resources, I don't think we're ever going to see that again.
No.
And those of us who lived in are going to be old and gray, and we're going to be sitting there with our grandchildren going, oh, you don't know what happened in the pandemic.
Yep.
And how much money they gave away. Because even in 2008, during the financial crisis and the real estate bubble, and everybody still talks about that, we got stimmy checks for like $600.
I remember, it's nothing.
The banks got bailed out. They didn't send us any money.
Right.
But in this particular case, they sent us the money, and the economy exploded, which is interesting energy because I don't want to say most, but a lot of people obtained those funds illicitly. They were illegally gotten gains. So the Rolexes were sold out. The Louis Vuitton store, you couldn't buy anything. The lines were wrapped around.
Yeah.
Where did all of a sudden people start buying houses in cash? Where did all of a sudden everybody get money to buy a Rolex? Like, I still don't have a Rolex. I still wear a shitty Michael Kors. That, by the way, doesn't even work. I just wear it for decor. I'm like, where did people get all this money from? Like, I went to high school with you. Like, I know how much money you make. I mean, I can have a good estimate.
Right.
And all of a sudden you bought a house cash?
Fishy.
It makes no sense. So, that's my rant. But there's way more to come from that.
I gotta tell you, PPP and EIDL literally saved my business.
And it saved a lot of people.
I got total about 150,000.
Which you probably could have gotten more.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Don't tell me that.
Well, it's too late now.
I know. So don't tell me
Besides,
that.
125 is nothing compared to your 10 mil goal.
Correct. No,
Not
it's
even
nothing.
a drop in the bucket.
Yeah, 100%. So I own a therapy agency for kids with autism.
Oh, that's so
based
nice.
out of New York. We do
Nice.
in-home and in-school behavior modification. My wife and I own that together. So I have a contract with the DOE in New York. During COVID, they stopped functioning.
Right.
They stopped paying me. So the PPP and the EIDL literally kept payroll going.
Yeah. Well, that's the purpose.
That was the purpose of it.
Paycheck protection
100%,
program.
yeah.
That's what it's called.
Yeah. It literally kept it going.
Yeah.
And without that, I don't think I'd be here today. And to your point of the injection of capital, the following year, I made my first $1 million.
Well, because let's break this down, right? The Paycheck Protection Program was to obviously continue to support payroll.
Yep.
So think about it.
As a podcaster, I needed a place to share my voice and hear other stories. That's how Forge Studios was born. A place created not just for me, but for everyone searching for something more. An environment where as soon as you walk in, you feel the energy and you feel welcomed. Where being seen and heard is part of the experience. A place for entrepreneurs to share their journey, for creators to bring ideas to life, for businesses to grow authentically. A space that values mental health, encourages real conversations, and supports those who turns ideas into impact. Here at the Forge Studios, creativity, culture, and purpose aligns and comes together to help you create something greater. A place where we leave the filters behind and we start expressing ourselves for real. The Forge Studio. Your journey starts here. Your impact starts now.
And we can kind of split hairs, but essentially, if your business, and maybe not in your particular case, but some businesses were able to maintain open and stay running.
I was open.
Okay.
I stayed open,
So
yeah.
while you're still running and making money, the number one cost of any small business is payroll expense.
Yes.
So now you're removing the biggest expense from your business, because that's covered for the next, 8 weeks, 12 weeks?
Yes, right.
Now all the income that you're making from your business is profit.
Mm-hmm.
So this allows your business to grow exponentially.
Yep.
Now you can deploy that capital to either, funds the next location or invest in technology.
Right.
Plus now you get the EIDL, which is a nice little cash reserve sitting there, which also boosts your cash flow, which again, capital you can deploy as an investment.
Yep.
I mean, it was a win-win for those who were smart, like
Correct.
yourself, and knew how to use that money and how to make that work for them. Again, some people were very successful and their businesses thrived and doubled and tripled because they knew how to leverage that. Other people just didn't. They
Weren't
just
savvy enough. Or probably misguided.
I think it could be both, but obviously since we're on the topic of energy, I think people are not comfortable having large sums of money, and that's why people aren't able to really reach that next level of income, because they just, for whatever their childhood reasons are and their beliefs and their own fears, are not comfortable with it, and they just felt like, oh my God, I got this money, like what do? I got to spend it, I got to blow it. And some of them made irresponsible financial decisions, bad investments.
Yeah.
I thought it was pretty funny. Robinhood blew up, the app.
Crypto blew up.
Blew up. Dogecoin. I mean, I still have some Dogecoin. But, people, what was it? Was it GameStop? No, Hertz. Well, the GameStop
It was
blew
GameStop,
up.
yeah.
Right. Well, it happened with GameStop,
Yeah.
which worked.
Yes.
Everybody just...
Still kind of working.
It is still kind of working, even
What's
though
his name? Kitty something, the guy that began this whole thing. He's still holding on. He made about 50 million.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. So you have that, but then you had Hertz. So Hertz went under, and all these, what I love too, like everybody became a freaking day trader.
Right.
During the pandemic.
AMC also, the theater company.
Yes. There was a few. There was like a handful, but I specifically remember Hertz because it went under and they had filed for bankruptcy, and everybody's buying the stock. And I remember like the CEO or the spokesperson for Hertz was like, guys, why are you buying our stock? Like literally you're not going to get your money back.
Right.
We're going under. But they thought it was going to be like a part 2 of the GameStop where they were just going to like be the superheroes and revive it.
Right.
Let me tell you, that for me, that time, if I could go back and revisit a moment in time, I think it would be that. Because it was just so ridiculous. It was so insane.
It was a free-for-all.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. And like I said, it was literally raining money. Just money came from everywhere. Good times, man. Really good times.
They injected what? It was like 3 trillion they injected?
I think that's what it was. It was it was in the trillions.
Yeah.
It was in the trillions. Because I remember making a post about it and saying, guys, even in 2008, we didn't see this amount of money.
No.
This did not happen, you know? But yeah, those were good times.
Going back to energy for a second, I was raised very poor. You know, I grew up watching all my friends have everything and me have nothing. Right? So plenty of money blockage there. I think what really helped me, I did IT for a long time. I was an IT manager, IT director in my previous life. I worked for 4 different billionaire families. And I think that was the best college I ever went to. It helped me get rid of so many insane ideas that I had in my head of what I thought about money, of what I thought about those people to begin with.
Prejudice.
Yeah.
Prejudice.
100%.
And that's a big energetic money block, is a prejudice against not just money, but against the rich.
Right.
Or the people with money. And religion is very big on that too.
Huge.
You know, I ask my clients who I work with, I'm like, what religion are you? And people say, you know, typically by the time that they come to me, they're like, no, I'm spiritual, I don't have a religion. Okay, but fine. But how were you raised? And typically, if you come from a Catholic background, these are the biggest ones. Because they believe in piety, humility, you know, money's the root of all evil, you shouldn't have money.
Right. It's evil.
So there's a lot of shame around money. There's a lot of shame around affluence. There's a lot of, you know, again, shame with having or being rich, because you're going to be perceived as being a bad person, you know, as being greedy, as being selfish. You know, you shouldn't have that. But what's interesting is those who are more of Christian type faith, their beliefs are a little bit different, because they believe more in abundance and more in prosperity and more, you know, God is here to prosper.
Right.
So it's all very, very, very interconnected.
I'm happy
Were
that
you
I'm
Catholic?
Raised Catholic.
Yeah. I'm glad you overcame that.
Me too.
Yeah.
Me
And
too.
you still may have some residual.
I do.
Yeah.
I know I do.
Because that's where,
Yeah.
you know, that
jump
block is
coming
from.
Yeah. I'm gonna break through that ceiling.
You are.
Yeah.
You are. I have a good feeling about it.
I'm consistently working on it. God brings me people like you in my life to teach me and show me, and I'm gonna break through.
You will.
Yeah.
You will get to it. I think what's interesting too about prejudice with money, right? Sometimes, and I'm sure there's a psychological term for it, but it's almost like a reverse ego, where you almost feel too good. Since you don't have it, you're like, I don't need that.
Right.
I don't. It's this arrogance and this smugness.
Correct.
And it's this dismissive.
Like, I'm better than that.
Right. I don't need that. No, you're a liar. Yes, you do. You want it just like everybody else.
Right.
You just have an ego that's inverted.
Right.
And I caught myself one time doing that. I was with a friend, and this was some years ago, and she was selling an apartment in Bell Harbor. And it's not far from where I live. I live there in that neighborhood. And she's like, hey, I'm going to be doing a showing. Come by, see the listing, post it. You know, if you want, we'll share, and then we'll grab some lunch. I'm like, yeah, for sure. I'm down to go see like a $12 million apartment for sure. So we go to the apartment. We walk in, and I look, and I go, this is $12 million? And she goes, yeah. I'm like, I would not pay $12 million for this. She's like, really? You wouldn't? I'm like, no, dude, this is like trash.
Really?
Yeah. And she's like, really? And the apartment was like nothing to write home about. The only thing is the location,
Got
right?
it. One
And
of
the
those.
view.
Yeah.
And now the building has ridiculous amenities, like a full-time concierge, like babysitter around the clock if you have
Got it.
kids. There's like a restaurant in the lobby. So there's a lot of amenities.
A lot of perks. Yeah.
Right. And I, you know, whatever, we finished there, we went, we had lunch. She actually asked me to like help sage the apartment and stuff so she could sell it. And I'm like, I'm in it. I'm here for it. So we did all, you know, the little shenanigans. And, you know, when I got home, I started thinking about it, and I was like, why did I feel that it wasn't worth the 12 million? You know? And I really sat with that for a while. It wasn't like it came to me immediately.
Right.
And then I realized, I'm like, well, number one, it's because I don't have $12 million. So I would be very, very frugal with that type of an investment, right? If I did have $12 million realistically and I was going to buy a place, then it would have to live to my expectation of what $12 million would represent.
I understand.
Does that make sense?
Yes, 100%.
Now, if I was a person who was raised with money all the time, I would be like, oh, 12 million, this is a great deal. This is a steal.
It's not bad.
Yeah, man, this is a great discount. They got 24, they got the restaurant downstairs. I'm right on the beach. I can walk across this to Bell Harbor shops. Oh, they have a thing.
They
can
add
come for the
all
summer.
that to the price.
Right.
Yeah.
You're like, oh man, that's great. Yeah, let's do it. Let's write up the contract. But that's that limiting belief, you know, where you're like, it's not really worth it. 12 million. For me, 12 million, I would want like a house. You know, I would want like a Roman bathtub and like a shower that you could fit like 6 people. Not that I would have 6 people, but I would want like, right. But I would want a big bathtub, and I would want to be right on the bay, and I would want like, I'm like, okay, well, if I could take 12 mil, like, can I get a house for 6 and a yacht for like 4 and still have 12 million left over? Like, this is where my brain would go. Limited. To me, it sounds like a lot. Well, you got a house, a boat, you still got money in the bank, but it's limited. Mm-hmm. You got to think
bigger.
Unlimited.
Yeah.
You got to think 12 million, that's nothing. I'll write the check right now. You know what? I'll make you an offer. Bring me my purse.
Exactly.
You know? And once you start getting comfortable with that and really admire and not have that prejudice to the people who have it, because the reality is you're just jealous that you don't have it.
Right.
Because I want it.
Yeah.
I want to be able to go to Louis Vuitton store and go to Bell Harbor and just buy
This.
I want.
This.
I love it. Like in Pretty Woman.
Yes.
She's just like, I'm going to take this and I'm going to take that. And then she goes by the store and she's with the bags and she's like, big mistake. Big mistake. I mean, everybody wants that fairy tale. Everybody wants to feel that.
One of the families I worked for, they bought a $20 million house in Aspen.
Amazing.
And they spent $23 million renovating it. The renovation was more than the house.
That's insane.
Insane.
I mean,
Gorgeous
I don't know if,
place.
again, I don't know if that would be like a bad investment, but.
Right.
But I mean, when you have that much money.
Correct. Like nothing.
Right.
Like.
You know what's interesting in the reverse, one of the shows that I used to love to watch was, I forgot what channel it was on cable, and it was called The Lotto Ruined My Life.
I've seen it.
Have you seen it?
Yes, I have.
I love watching this show because it is a living testament to the concept of what I teach.
100%. I agree.
I'm like...
They weren't energetically ready.
They were not.
No.
And, or to an extent they were, because somehow they manifested it.
Right.
They manifested it. So somehow there was an alignment there that happened. And what? That would be a different study.
What do you think goes wrong?
That the people who win the lottery historically are not affluent. They come from, you know, humble beginnings, meager means. They're usually a beautiful story of, I was on my final notice of disconnection and I took my last dollar and I played the ticket. And it's this beautiful story of you're like, wow, what a Cinderella story. But then we tap into your energy of not being comfortable with money, having been deprived of having anything that you ever wanted and having your desires ever fulfilled. So you take this $1 million, you buy a house, you fill it with shit, literally.
That you don't need.
Monetary things. You buy a tiger. You know, you just like buy
Mike Tyson
peacocks
style.
and like, you know, I don't know, you put a circus in the backyard. You
go crazy.
Your 7-year-old self comes back to life. You know, you're like that movie, Blank Check or something, when the kid just pretends he's rich and you just like you put a water slide in the backyard. Like, listen, I'm here for it. This is so exciting. But you burn through it because you don't feel safe having that money, and you start tapping into the second chakra, which is your pleasure sensors, you know, that creativity. And now you're just like, I'm gonna just do everything very hedonistic, everything that feels good to me, everything that I was deprived of. you know, and you just start buying and spending, and before you know it, you're at zero. You know what's one of my favorite movies? Have you ever seen Brewster's Million?
No.
You would love this movie. So it's an old 80s movie, and it's from Richard Pryor.
I love Richard Pryor.
He's such a great actor.
Love
or
Richard
was.
Pryor.
So he inherits, and you can tell this is 80s, back when things were very politically incorrect. So it's a little bit racist, probably a lot racist, actually. But anyways, just disclosure for those of you watching. Okay, don't write me. But the premise of the movie is that he inherits all this money.
I know
So
what movie you're talking about.
yeah, so
I've never seen it, but I know what you're talking about.
So before he inherits the money, the attorneys of the estate or the trust of his inheritance tell him, we're going to give you $1 million and you need to blow all of it. And he's like, what? And
Smart.
so he gets it all out of his system. He goes, but when you blow it, he goes, you cannot have not one return on your investment. So whatever you spend it on cannot yield a return. So you can't buy something like a Picasso painting
Right.
and because now it's an asset and it's got value. You literally have to burn through it. So they hire this accountant and she's following him all over the place. You know, it's old
That's
school. So
really
it's like with a
smart.
calculator tape.
Yeah. I
So
really like that.
it's a phenomenal movie. It's super funny because he's like on the struggle bus, like, how do I blow all this money? And by the end, he's like, I can't anymore. Like, I don't care. Like, I don't even know if I want this money. So it did the trick. So maybe that's the trick. If you win the lotto, you know, if you win 15, 20, just take $1 million, blow it, and then set the rest to the side. I mean, could be good advice.
Yeah. My 5-year-old, he lost his tooth. So we put it, tooth fairy coming, and we gave him $10.
Nice. Inflation is serious on the tooth
Yeah.
fairy.
He woke up. I'm rich. I have $10. I'm
exciting.
rich. Yes.
That's so sweet.
And I love seeing that. Yes, my son, you are rich.
Yes.
I love seeing that energy.
Yeah.
Like, I will not destroy that.
Yes,
Yes,
no.
you are rich.
No, they're so sweet. 5 is such a fun age though too. It's
Yes.
it's like a really, really sweet age for 5. But thinking about that, you want to tell him that he's rich, but we got to teach them very young,
Yes.
how, to use money and really the importance of the value,
Yes.
of money and how it works. Because you're like, Rich, obviously he's 5. You don't want to bust his little bubble, right? Or break his little heart. But the reality is, it's like, all right, let's go to the supermarket.
Yeah.
You got $10. They have no concept.
Zero.
They just put everything, and then they just start crying. They're like, "What do you mean I can't get all of these things? Or it's only $10. It's like 2 things you can buy."
Yeah.
But yeah, a lot of parents, don't take the time to teach
Any tips?
their. Listen, I'm a money coach. My mom hat, not the same person. Not the same person. It's tricky though. It's tricky, and I've struggled with this, with my own kids, right? They're both very opposite. One is very frugal. He saves everything. He counts all of his money. He's a good saver. He puts his money away. And then my other one just can't have $5. He just blows it. So it's a slippery slope, because one is they're both one extreme to the other.
Right.
And I remember one time my son, he went out with his girlfriend and he was like, no, she's going to pay for me. She's going to take care of the movies and she's going to pay for everything. And I looked at him and I was like, is this what I'm teaching you? And he's like, what do you mean? And I go, am I teaching you that it's okay to mooch off women? Am I teaching you that it's okay for you to have a woman take care of you? Because that's not what I'm trying to do. That's in fact, the opposite of what's supposed to be happening here. So he was obviously very younger, a lot younger.
Yeah.
So things have changed since then, but it was really eye-opening even for me.
Yeah.
To have, that realization of, wait, what am I teaching? What am I showing them? because I would hope that they would see that, yeah, mom turned things around. She made it happen. She was independent. She pursued all her passions. Everything that she did with her whole heart, you know, and she leaned into everything and she gave us everything. But at the same time, I'm like, how am I going to teach them to get it on their own? You know, and it kind of goes into a little bit of a gender role and believe or think what you want. But I think men, for me, I think the man needs to be the provider. I think the man needs to step up.
100%.
You know, I mean, yes, I'm for equal rights and both, you know, eat from the table.
Sure.
But at the end of the day, I know that I would want a man by my side that I can count on. Do I need him to pay my bills? No. But it's nice to know that the man is going to be the provider, that he's going to be there.
Right.
So it was, you know, a lot of self-reflection during that time too, saying, okay, well, how do I teach my boys to be men when I'm a woman? So it's tough, but that's a conversation for another podcast.
As a podcaster, I needed a place to share my voice and hear other stories. That's how Forge Studios was born. A place created not just for me, but for everyone searching for something more. An environment where as soon as you walk in, you feel the energy and you feel welcomed. Where being seen and heard is part of the experience. A place for entrepreneurs to share their journey, for creators to bring ideas to life, for businesses to grow authentically. A space that values mental health, encourages real conversations, and supports those who turns ideas into impact. Here at the Forge Studios, creativity, culture, and purpose aligns and comes together to help you create something greater. A place where we leave the filters behind and we start expressing ourselves for real. The Forge Studio. Your journey starts here. Your impact starts now.
I want to get into your program.
Yes.
And I want to know a little bit about how it works. What do you do exactly with your clients? What are the steps that you take to get them to where they need to be?
So when I work with my clients, it's usually either a 30, 60, or 90-day program.
Okay.
Depending. When they come to me, we do an evaluation. So I do like a full, complete audit of your finances. I look at your tax returns, I look at your credit score, look at your checking, your savings account. You know, I look at everything that you're doing. And then we look at your energy, your chakra energy. There's a questionnaire. I talk about like, what's your religion? Finish the sentence. Money is what? There's additional questions that I ask through there as well. And then from there, I build out your strategy plan. Okay. Like I said, either 30, 60, or 90 days. In some cases, we can go longer. And I'm kind of in the middle of tweaking some of the program. But currently, as it is, that's how it would intended to work.
Got it.
And then I put together your plan. I work really, really fast. I am not a coach that believes in codependency. I believe in empowerment. So I want to teach you and then fly, little bird. You're on your own.
I love that.
Yeah, a whole nother thing. But a lot of coaches have that mentality. And I don't need that.
They want to string you along.
Yeah, they want to string you along. They never want to tell you the answers. They want to hook you for, I don't know, a multitude of reasons. I don't have time for that. I want to, you know, catch and release. And again, my goal is to empower you and teach you. I gain nothing. And on top of that, really, I kind of get annoyed. If you keep calling me, I'm like, you know, figure it out. Like, I've already taught you this, you know? So typically, you know, your clients mirror you.
Yes.
You know? So we go through that, and then, like I said, I work really quickly, depending on what are the areas. I'll ask you, what do you want? Do you want to work on something specifically? You know, like, let's say for you, your income plateau. Okay, let's look at where you are. Let's look at where the block is, and what are either additional revenue streams or tweaks that we can make, or is it just a mindset shift? So I'm very transparent. I don't sugarcoat a lot of things. Like I said, I don't need to lie or drag you on. But a lot of times people just need like a whole overhaul, a complete overhaul. I need them. I got to look at their taxes. I'm like, what just happened? I've had people come to me and they're like, I haven't done my taxes in like 3 years. And sometimes that's a blessing in disguise, because depending where they are and what's happening, if I can backdate the taxes,
You have more
sometimes
control.
sometimes that works to our advantage. I'm not telling anybody not to file their taxes again. This is for entertainment purposes only. But it is something that is really exciting that I can then tweak to get you to where you need to be. Sometimes I'm like, listen, if that's the case, let's just chalk up all these last 3 years as losses and we'll start from here forward, So it really just depends. But like I said, everybody's plan is very, very different. Everybody's financial situation is like their thumbprint. Not everyone has the same one. Some people want to get out of debt. And that again, that also includes some strategy. Some people think that the debt snowball is the way to go. And
I was just going to ask you about him.
no, I'm not a fan. Not a fan at all. Sometimes I hear his advice and I'm like, why is he telling people to eat rice and beans? Like, this guy is the epitome of scarcity mindset. Mind you, he's sitting on an empire.
Yes.
And, how entitled are you to have all this money and have the audacity to tell me to eat rice and beans? Like, you fucking eat rice and beans, sir. But yeah, no, not a fan at all. Again, because I hear his advice and I'm like, that's not how you do it. Some people really do deserve to be talked to like that because I've heard some outlandish things, but
Yeah.
but that's kind of it. So
Who are you a fan of that's out there?
It's funny because I'm currently doing a rebrand and my branding girl was like, so who would you say is someone you look up to? And to your question, no one. I really don't have anyone that I aspire to be like or to emulate. And maybe that's a little bit of ego, but there's just really no one else is doing what I'm doing.
Right.
So I don't have anyone that I can look up to. And in the financial space, it is so male dominated that as a woman, it's very, very hard to find someone, and I'm actually back in banking. I went back to banking about 8 months ago, and coming back to banking and being again in that place of corporate and again seeing that male dominated energy and seeing how men are so analytical and wanting everything on a spreadsheet and missing so much of the intuitive piece, of what it is to lead and manage finances. Women, we lead like we mother, and we nurture. So the more that women become empowered in their finances, the more wealth that we obtain, the more wallet share that we get, the more that we climb into these C-suites, the more that we can empower those that are coming, after us, and the more that we can reshape finances and wealth and what it really means to lead and to have money.
What made you go back to banking?
Timing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was timing. It was timing. It was, I lost my mom about 1.5 years ago, and that really took a toll on me. My mom was like my best friend, and I had spent, and that's like a whole nother story, but about 7.5, maybe 8 years ago, the Holy Spirit told me I had 7 years left with my mom. So looking back now, and I'm still trying to kind of unpack all of that. I'm in the middle of it. And I realized that everything that I was doing with building my business and leaving corporate allowed me and put me in a place that I was able to, number one, heal my relationship with my mom. And number two, be there for her during those last 2 years when she was battling cancer. And when she passed, I had created a lot of space in my business because I was taking care of her and running around to the doctors.
Right.
And at the same time, my son had an accident and I was dealing with that. And it was a shit show. And I just had a lot of time on my hands. And I was like, this isn't good.
Mm-hmm.
And the opportunity came, and I said, yeah, I think I'm ready to go back into corporate and be even better than I was when I left, because I'm not
So much more experience.
100%.
Yeah.
You know, the
Whole different
energy,
person.
100%, night and day, the
Yeah.
person that's sitting here today. And that was, you know, really what the truth, obviously, of what prompted me to say yes and to go back. And it's been really awesome. It's been really awesome going back. It was like riding a bike. Like, I'm like, damn, I'm really fucking good. You know?
What do you do exactly?
So I'm
At the
a
bank.
senior vice president and I'm head of retail and business banking.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So I manage about a $200 million portfolio.
That's awesome.
With a team of about 20.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank
Incredible.
you. Yeah, so it's exciting, and I'm learning a lot in the process too. You know, about myself, and you know, and I probably don't give myself enough credit as I should. I don't think anybody ever really does. We always beat ourselves up.
Yeah.
But sometimes I do have those moments where I pause and I'm like,
Smell the
"Damn, girl,
roses."
You know, you did it. You know, you're doing it. But it's been really fun. It's been really fun. You know, going back and still doing, you know, this that I love, and again bringing all of that experience, you know,
Yeah.
and seeing the banking industry and my position from a CEO position. I'm not the CEO, but having run my own business, seeing the bank as a business,
Right.
versus when I was just an employee looking up, going, these people don't know anything about what they're doing, but looking at it now as a business and having done strategic planning for small businesses. So the lens is different. So
What do you think about crypto and the tokenization of things?
So I think 100% crypto is going to be the future.
Okay.
I don't know if the future it's going to be crypto as it is now,
Okay.
but 100% cashless society is upon us.
Yeah.
I
Kind of
love-
already is here.
Yeah, I love the cash on your desk.
Thank you.
And obviously those are going to be obsolete now.
Yeah.
And I think COVID was a big ushering into that,
I agree.
where most people were like, we don't want to touch it. Even in, you know, a lot of financial institutions, they're moving away too from accepting cash and encouraging business owners that are heavy cash to move into digital.
Yeah.
But I think, and this is very, very much into the future, and maybe by the time I'm old, I don't think it'll even be, I mean, and then again, who knows? You know, things move fast.
Yeah.
But I think that we will reach a moment where I believe most enterprises and most companies will have their own cash to negotiate. Meaning, if I want to go to Publix, I would have to convert whatever my cash is into Publix dollars, and I would be able to use it there. And those companies will put a value to their own currency, to their own limits. And I think that is going to usher in a lot of what, you know, will be that futuristic.
Very interesting.
Yeah. And I see that happening a lot. Like, if I wanted to buy your merch, you would be like, hey, yeah, go on to whatever this platform is, convert your dollars or your crypto into Leo bucks and buy my merch. And then you can have your own dollars that then you can exchange and put it back either onto the blockchain or into however it is that you do it. But I think what's scary...
It's going to be wild.
Oh, no, it is. And like I said, I don't know if I'll necessarily see that
Yeah.
in my lifetime. Maybe more for my kids and your daughter.
2 kids, 2
Right.
boys.
Oh, like
Yeah.
me, 2 boys. So your sons, probably more for them. But I think today we are looking at, like, the Fed is wanting to create their own dollar. And they did this in China, and it was chaos. So I think that in order for the government to obviously taper inflation and start to control more, because they realized that during the pandemic they couldn't control us.
Right.
So the only thing that they can control us next is with our money. Mm-hmm. So that is going to be the next real sense of control, is how they're going to do that.
Yeah.
And I think that with the creation of, like, the Fed funds, the Fed dollars, they'll start to incentivize consumers like they did in China. They'll say, hey, you know, put your money here with us. It's out of, you know, the
It's just-
network.
yes.
It's out of circulation. Move it with us. and we'll give you, I don't know, 5,000 Fed dollars for just by opening an account with us. But they'll put a limit on it. And that limit meaning you can't take it in cash. You can only use it to purchase items, and it'll have an expiration date. And you got to use it by set amount of time.
Wow.
So they will put those parameters where then we kind of go back to someone who's in a desperate situation, be like, man, I'll give you 1,000. You're going to give me 5? That's 6,000. Like, that's a no-brainer. Cool, but now you're back on Brewster's Million where you got 30 days to blow it and you can only spend it on this. So it may work for a short time, but I think that that's more of that control, which is why a lot of people are so excited about crypto. There's more freedom, there's more autonomy, there's more privacy. The reality is that, you know, the government monitors everything that we do. I mean, I work at a bank. I see this every day. You know, you have some transaction hit that's out of the norm, it gets flagged immediately. I don't know if that's ever happened to you. You get a call from your bank and they're like, hey, why did you have this wire transfer for $5,000 come in? And now you got to explain it.
Yeah.
And after, you know, with a lot of the laws that want to be put into place, gun laws and things, now they want to restrict and have the banks monitor, you know, if you make a gun purchase or if you make certain types of purchases on your account.
Really?
Oh, yeah. That was that was nationalized. It was televised. They brought in all the heads of the banks, and it was all in front of Congress because they were trying to get the banks to do even more policing to consumer accounts. And, you know,
how do you feel about that?
Look, I have mixed emotions. You know, I personally don't have anything to hide. I am a gun owner.
Same.
But I don't, you know, I don't take it with me. You know, it's at my house. So, but like I said, I have mixed feelings because till when does our privacy end?
Right.
You know? And I think for some things it's good. Like most banks are trained to look for sex trafficking. To look for the types of transactions that lead to something like that or the types of behaviors. So I think those measures are important. If we can stop an active shooter going into a school by tracking that.
By all means, yeah.
Then I'm for it. But for an average person, you know, who is a lawful gun owner or, I don't know, even if you want to go buy weed and you have a medical marijuana license, like, why are you going to tell me that I can't do it if it's legal?
Right.
So it's a very fine line, and I think that's where it gets really blurry because how do you define that?
Right.
How do you guard against that? And that's where the banks really gave that pushback, and they were like, listen, we're already monitoring anti-terrorism, you know, looking at laundering, you know, looking at the movements for drug cartels, and now you're going to ask us to look at this too? So there's a lot of violation, you know, or potential violation for privacy, invasion of privacy. I mean, I love to look at people's checking accounts.
It must be fun.
Oh my God, it's super fun. You see the shit people do and what they buy.
I can imagine, because I buy a bunch of shit, so I could imagine.
If anybody looks at my account, it's like super boring, but everything is on Amazon. Like if I can't get it on Amazon, I don't want it. Because it's like next day or even the same day. I'm like, oh, I can get this the same day? Yeah, I'm changing the pillow covers right now, today. So it's fun, but yeah, there's stuff like, you know, if you're applying for a mortgage or a loan and all of a sudden you see a whole bunch of OnlyFans, you're like, what is going on? You know, and sometimes people will come in and they'll be like, don't tell my wife, you know, or don't tell my partner, and that's a whole nother thing, you know.
Get messy,
and, you know, keeping things separate from your partner. Right. Financial secrets is like a big thing.
Huge.
Big
I
time.
think what happened in Canada with those truckers, I think that was huge. It was very eye-opening for the crypto market. You know, to have the government basically freeze your bank account and not allow you to pull out because you're protesting.
This is a violation of civil rights.
Yeah.
I mean, across the board, I don't care who you voted for, that's just wrong.
I agree.
No one should, you know,
have that much power over you. Yeah.
They shouldn't. And again, that's our autonomy. And again, and it's your livelihood.
Right.
You know, and like I said, it's a short fuse. Like, don't play with people's money.
No. People go crazy.
Yeah,
Rightfully so.
of course.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's not good for accounts that have gotten blocked and frozen. And when they did the what was that pipeline and
Keystone?
the pipeline that there was a big protest.
I think it was Keystone.
Yeah, I forget now
Yeah.
what it was. That was a big eye opener too. A lot of people moved their money out of the banks and moved towards credit unions.
As a podcaster, I needed a place to share my voice and hear other stories. That's how Forge Studios was born. A place created not just for me, but for everyone searching for something more. An environment where as soon as you walk in, you feel the energy and you feel welcomed. Where being seen and heard is part of the experience. A place for entrepreneurs to share their journey, for creators to bring ideas to life, for businesses to grow authentically. A space that values mental health, encourages real conversations, and supports those who turns ideas into impact. Here at the Forge Studios, creativity, culture, and purpose aligns and comes together to help you create something greater. A place where we leave the filters behind and we start expressing ourselves for real. The Forge Studio. Your journey starts here. Your impact starts now.
Which is very different because credit unions, banks are owned by the stockholders.
Right.
The credit union is owned by their shareholders. And the
Okay.
shareholders are the members of the credit union. So for those of you who have, or if you've ever had an account in a credit union, typically they put like a $5 like on hold or like $1 because you own a share in the credit union. And that's how they're able to keep their rates low and how they're able to offer, rates low on loans and pay higher costs on deposits.
Right.
Versus the banks, the profits go to the stockholders
Makes
and
sense.
to the board of directors. So there was a big, wave of people who were like, we're moving to the credit union. I'm like, cool, enjoy, have fun. It's great, but the reality is that credit unions are not as technologically advanced.
They're limited.
as,
Yeah.
The bank, their locations are not as great. But if this is something that is important to you and this is, a core value that you have, then by all means, move it. If that makes you feel good that you made a difference and that was your way of protesting because you couldn't get to, I have the word on the tip of my tongue, the pipeline, then you can do that for yourself.
How long do you think you'll be in banking? Is it like, did you put a time frame or no? You're back and you're seeing what's happening?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm enjoying everything that I'm doing right now. It's hard work, but I'm enjoying it. And I think for now, I'll be here for a while until God tells me otherwise. And then I'll know when to move. But Karmic Currency is alive and thriving. Back to kind of your question, my
Yep.
classes are online. So anyone can sign up for the free classes. They're 30 days. They'll go into detail with everything that we talked about, the chakras. There's PDFs, handouts, all kinds of great tips in there. And then I do take private client coaches for coaching. And I am rolling out a new business class, which is pretty excited. I haven't made that announcement just yet. You heard it here first.
That's awesome.
So that's going to be for small business owners to understand how to really leverage their business and get further with the bank. There's a lot of misconception about business credit and how do I get business credit and all these influencers and like you can, you need a paydex score and you can get this and you can get that. And I'm like, people, that's not the way it works. Like, so it's going to be a lot of, debunking of a lot of myths and misconceptions. So I'm really excited about that rolling out. That should roll out towards the end of the summer, probably
That's awesome.
late July, early August. And then my second book, which will be out at the end of the year or early next year.
I'm really happy I met you.
Thank you. Me too.
You're incredible.
Thank you. I really appreciate that.
Appreciate you too.
Thank you.
I think I'm a new client.
Awesome. I'm taking new clients.
I need your help.
I will help. I would be more than happy to help you. I would be honored to help you.
You are extremely knowledgeable, and you're gracious.
Thank you. Thank you so much. That means a lot to me. That means a lot.
Do me a favor.
Yes.
Look at that camera.
Which one? The
Right
one
here.
in the middle?
Right in front of you. No,
Oh
no.
my gosh,
Yeah,
look
yeah.
at my cheeks are flushed. It's hot in here. La menopausia. Oh. All right. Edit that part, okay?
Let everybody know how they can find you. Your social media.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Your program, your course, whatever you want to offer.
So if you are looking to change your relationship with money, shift the way that you view money, and you want to have more of it, then you can find me at Karmic Currency. That is KARMIC, and then currency like money. You can find me on Instagram, Facebook, not TikTok. I do have a YouTube video, a YouTube channel, which I'm currently beefing up, and my website is karmiccurrency.com. My online classes are at chakrasandmoney.com, so you can find me there. Instagram is kind of where is my space, so that's going to be the best place for you to find me. And you can message me and DM me. I always love talking to strangers on the DM, so message me.
I'll make sure to add all your links down below.
Yes, thank you.
You are incredible.
Thank you so much,
I wish you
Leo.
all the best.
Thank you so much.
I'm very proud of you.
Thank you so much.
I can see that you're having a huge impact on people's lives, and go get them.
Thank you so much, my friend. I really appreciate you. And
Appreciate
I know
you
that
as well.
you're gonna hit that goal. I
Thank
know
you.
it. I see it. Intuitively,
you.
I'm like, it's right there. We just need to figure out like
I agree.
where to turn the dial.
My
It's
favorite
right there
book
for you.
is 3 Feet from Gold by
Oh, I
Napoleon
never
Hill.
read that one.
Oh, you
Napoleon
should.
Hill.
Yes, it's very good.
Are you a fan of Napoleon Hill? I don't know if we want to go on another rant right now,
I'm
but
a
I'm not a
fan
fan.
of 2 of his books.
Which one? Think and Grow Rich.
No,
Which one?
I'm a fan of 3 Feet from Gold
Okay.
and Outwitting the Devil.
Okay, so I have not read those two.
You have to.
I will. I will.
Forget Napoleon Hill. The
Okay.
message is very good.
Okay. Because
Yeah.
I do love to challenge people when they tell me that they read Think and Grow Rich.
I have also, but it's not my favorite book.
It's not, and I listen to it on Audible, and what I tell people, I'm like, so what did you think of the book? And they're like, no, it's good. And I'm like, okay, but did you really read it to the end?
Right.
Because at the end, it's where it gets weird. And that's the good part.
Yes.
Where he really taps into the metaphysical piece of it. And he really talks about how he went into that meditation and he brought in his counsel.
Yes.
I did that shit in a meditation.
Really.
Fire. So cool. I was like, who do I want to bring in? And I'll share with you.
That's awesome.
I brought in.
I might have to do that.
Yeah, I brought in Cleopatra.
Okay.
I brought in Queen Elizabeth. And I did bring in the Kardashians.
That's incredible.
Yeah, super weird. But it was
they're very financially sound.
right. And it was a really, really interesting dynamic when, if you believe in that, obviously, and you
Right.
meditate and you really channel those energies to really, when you ask that advice, like, okay, how do I take my business to the next level? And I remember that the Kardashian energy, which was really the momager, Kris Jenner, who was really the brains behind everything.
Oh, yeah.
And now they kind of stand on their own, but
Yes.
and whatever, anyways. But one of the things that she said, which also Cleopatra echoed, which is, where's my army? Where's my team? And I realized that I was doing too much on my own and that I had not invested in bringing in a team of people to help me get to where I needed to get to. So that was very eye-opening.
A great team is extremely, extremely important.
Yeah. Yep.
I gotta tell you,
Yeah, no, agreed.
I'm nothing without these two.
Yeah.
My team is incredible.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I just rehired my old assistant, just rehired a brand manager to help me, keep Karmic Currency alive and keep it moving. And it's got renewed energy while I'm still in corporate, back in
Right.
corporate. And we'll see how things unfold. But yeah. So whenever somebody tells you they read that book, like, really ask them, did you really though?
Right.
Did you really get to the end?
Did you really download it?
Yeah, because nobody talks about that. So I'm like, why do you like the book? Because that's the only reason Because if you sit through it, because the whole beginning is so boring.
It's so boring. I agree.
And it's a little racist, and it's very
Yes.
driven.
Very 1920s.
Yeah, totally not the vibe. And
Yeah.
but I made it to the end. I stuck through it. I was like, there's got to be something here. I'm waiting for it. And when I got to the end, I was like, oh, this is it.
Yeah.
This is it. So it was very cool.
So 3 Feet from Gold
I'm going to write it down.
is a compilation of stories of successful CEOs and entrepreneurs who almost quit 3 Feet from Gold. And their story of how they pushed through and were able to get to where they wanted to get. And when they looked back, they were like, oh my God, if I had stopped at that point, I was so close.
Yeah.
And so it's I think they tell the story of about 15 or 20 different entrepreneurs
Wow.
in the book, yeah.
I think that's really inspiring. And I tell people all the time, I'm like, it's always darkest before the dawn.
Yes,
You know, it always gets really, really hard right before you hit that next level.
yes,
So that's the time that you really have to push and or throw in the towel. But in this particular case, of the purpose of the book is
Yeah.
really when to know to keep pushing, you know, and to know that you're so close. But that's where it's really important to be very connected with yourself and, you know, with your belief system,
right,
because that inner compass is what's going to keep guiding you to say, keep going,
yes,
not yet. It's not time to quit yet.
right.
Just go a little further, make one more call, you know, and then that person pops into your mind. You're like, how random. Why would I think about this person? You know what? I'm going to reach them, call them.
Right.
And all of a sudden they're like, dude, I was just thinking about you, man. I wanted to like talk to you about this thing and I had lost your number. I'm so glad you called. And then boom.
Now you got a new deal, yeah?
That's, you know, it's magic.
And the other book is called Outwitting the Devil. It's Napoleon Hill having a full conversation with the devil.
Amazing.
And
What did he talk about?
everything the devil does to control us. And how one can find their way out of it.
Interesting.
Very, very interesting, yeah.
I'm gonna download them.
I think you'll like
download
it.
them. I'm a paper book.
Are you?
Yeah, I'm a paper book girl. My son will tell you. I have books all over the house.
That's awesome.
And if it's like a book that I really, really like, most books that I read, I always keep like a pen and a highlighter next to it because I like to
Yeah.
I'm kind of old school like that. I put my notes and I underline. So if they're really good, like I'll start reading them and then I'm like, oh no, I gotta hold this book. I need this in my hand. I gotta take notes. So that's exciting. I'm gonna read them both.
Please do.
Yeah, definitely. I'd love to read.
We'll be in touch. Don't you worry.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. Thank you for
we
having
met for a
me.
reason. Thank you for coming.
It's been really,
We've definitely
really
met for a
awesome.
reason.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Everything is divinely,
Yes.
organized.
Yes.
So I'm very, very excited.
Just to let you know,
Yes.
I can help you also. We do content here
Okay.
in the studio. We also manage social media content for a lot of our clients.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good to know.
Yeah.
All right. I may take you up on that.
Yeah.
Because, like I said, I'm doing my brand refresh right now.
Yeah, we do full branding.
Yeah, I'm going to do some new, headshots, new photos.
We do all that here, by the way.
I'm looking for a place to
We
do it.
do.
All
Max
right,
and
so
I
when
do full photo shoots here.
I was going to say when we hang up.
Yeah.
When we're done, you give me a tour.
I got
I
you.
was looking at that. I was like, oh, that's really nice to take pictures.
Yeah.
So yeah, that could be really good because I am obviously looking to do that.
I got you.
All right, sounds exciting.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me, Leo.
I
It's
really
been
appreciate
really
you.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Guys, incredible conversation. If you are someone that you're having money blockage, if you think that there's a barrier within you that's limiting you to reaching your goal, reach out to my dear friend. She can help you, she can guide you and help you break through all these barriers. Like, subscribe, hit that bell notification, and we'll see you guys next time.